They're vacationing across America and throughout Europe.
Take it, Russ.
This holiday season, the Griswolds are going to play it safe.
Clark, we're stuck under a truck.
Of course, they're staying at home.
I give you the Griswold family Christmas tree.
Hope you're not getting sap all over your sweater, Clark.
All Clark wants is a quiet, old-fashioned Christmas.
Sorry. Got a little knot here. You can work on that.
What he's going to get is the gift that keeps on living.
Merry Christmas.
His family.
We didn't come to impose. Oh, hell, there's plenty of room.
Do you sleep with your brother? Do you know how sick and twisted that is, Mom? Well, I'm sleeping with your father.
Have you got a kiss for me?
You better take a rain check on that, Art. He's got lip fungus they ain't identified yet.
But no holiday could ever be more deeply touching.
We were gonna call, but Eddie wanted to make it a surprise.
If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now.
We're really gonna fly down the hill with this stuff.
So genuinely moving.
Can I refill your eggnog for you? Drive you out to the middle of nowhere, leave you for dead?
More truly uplifting.
Can I show you something?
I was just browsing.
Or more down to earth.
Merry Christmas!
If Santa is smart, he'll stay well clear of this joint. It's a death trap.
Than Christmas with the Griswolds.
Everybody come on, quick, look at the lights!
They want you to say grace.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
This year, let Chevy Chase light up your holidays. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
That thing had 9 lives. She just spent them all.
You woo, crack up.
So, of course, this is the third installment in the Vacation series. National Lampoon's Vacation is a great movie. European Vacation, not so much, but it's not a bad movie. To me, I put it on the same level as Harold and Kumar. Harold and Kumar 2. Because Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle is a great movie. Second one, not so much. And then they rebounded with a third film, which is coincidentally a Christmas film. But this Christmas movie is definitely a lot better than Harold and Kumar, easily. But it's just a great Christmas movie all around. It's a movie that, it's one of those movies that at the time was not given the best reviews. It did well at the box office. I think it actually did better than European Vacation did. And it has, in years, grown to become a Christmas classic, like right up there with some of the other great cult Christmas movies of the time, specifically A Christmas Story, which this movie and A Christmas Vacation definitely are very similar to it, because they have a plot, but but the main focus of the film are these little things that happen, little stories that happen, leading up to the big family get together at the end of the movie, like the big, you know what I'm talking about, the big Christmas Eve, Christmas Day climax that happens. And I mean, really, there really isn't a whole lot new I can add to this that most people haven't already said already. It's a Christmas classic. Like, this is a movie that it has everything you want from a good Christmas movie. It's one you can watch every single year. You never get tired of it. Every time it's on TV, when AMC plays it on during the holidays, I've got to watch it. It's almost every time it's on. If there's nothing else on, I'm just flipping over to AMC and seeing it's on there. And I think last year, Christmas Vacation, I think it was on almost 100 times, if I'm not mistaken, with the combination of AMC, and then I think TBS and TNT had it on there at some point in November before it switched over to AMC. But yeah, it's a movie you can never get tired of. It's a movie that still holds up every single time. It's very funny. You can relate to Clark's situation. Like, he wants the perfect family Christmas, and whenever everything doesn't go his way, he has these plans that he has, all these plans he has, such as wanting the pool and all that. Like, you could fit, and when he doesn't get it, specifically when he gets his bonus, and he just freaks out on everybody. Everything that had been building up to that point, it's like, you can feel for the guy, and that rant he goes on with his family right there about his boss, it's just like, everybody has had that situation. Maybe they don't want to say it out loud, but they've had that situation before where they're just like, I've had enough, I'm snapping, and that scene just perfectly sums up what I think a lot of people would be really thinking about at that time, at that situation that they're in. And yeah, the movie does a good job of keeping in the tradition with the other films in the series. It does a good job of, like I said, being very funny, having these, the movie also has this nice visual feel to it. Like, it feels modern, but it also feels kind of like a classy, what's the best way to describe this movie? The cinematography in particular, it feels like something that could happen at any point, any Christmas, but it has this classic vintage visual feel to it. Like, I know that it takes place in '89, but it's hard for me to describe it, but there's just this weird feeling to it that is very intriguing. Like, it feels like in some scenes you're watching a Christmas card come to life with some of the shots they have in here. Like, there's Matt's scenes in particular. Like, there's a scene where the lights on the house finally get lit up, and you see all the houses in town, and it's this nice looking matte painting, and it's just something that's weird, but it's also kind of nostalgic in a way. Like, you don't really see that anymore. Well, you don't really see a lot of matting like that in films anymore, and it's just nice to see that in a lot in this movie. And like I said, it's a very funny movie. The cast in here, once again, works off each other very well. Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, Miriam Flynn. The kids in this movie this time are played by Juliette Lewis and Johnny Galecki. You also have got Julia Louis-Dreyfus in one of her earliest movie roles. And just before she hit it big with Seinfeld, and then she was doing a Day by Day when this came out. I think Day by Day actually had been canceled at that point. Of course, you got Brian Doyle Murray. You also got these veteran actors like William Hickey, Mae Questel, Diane Ladd, John Randolph, E.G. Marshall, Doris Roberts. Just this great cast coming together, and everybody just works really well here. Like, you never feel like anybody in this movie feels out of place or anything. They all feel like this could be a realistic family going through this situation. Nobody feels like they're out of place. Nobody feels like they're just there to collect a check. Most of the performances in here are genuine, and they feel very authentic, and it just makes the situations that happen all the more funnier and all the more understanding of what these characters go through. Like, you understand what everybody's going through. You understand what Clark's going through, and as silly and as chaotic it gets, you can really feel what everybody's going through. And it's just like, that's the great thing about John Hughes movies back then. Like, John Hughes really does a good job of combining a realistic setting with screwball comedic potential. He's done that for a number of years, even before he did it with Home Alone. Like, before this, we had Uncle Buck, we had Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, The Great Outdoors, and just these great movies that feel realistic, but also have these moments that feel so ridiculous, so over the top, so silly, but it all just meshes together so well. And that's what John Hughes at his prime did so very well. And I gotta give credit to Jeremiah Chechik, who I never even heard of before I even saw the movie, I should say. I wouldn't know who he was when the movie came out, because I was only about 11 months old when this came out. But yeah, this director's pretty good. I don't think he's ever directed a comedy before. I'd have to double check that. No, this is his first movie as a director, like first directing thing, period. And it's just like, what a way to start your career off. And you have this movie here that just, like I said, it's the perfect way to start off your career. Unfortunately, he didn't really take much of an advantage after that, because most of the movies he directed after that were some were okay, others not so much. One of his most notable misfires was The Avengers in 1998, based off the British TV show, which ended up being one of the worst movies of the year. But he also did stuff like Tall Tale, Benny and June, Diabolique. But still, for a first movie, man, not a bad way to start off your career by directing this movie at first. Like I said, the visuals are very good. The movie opens up with that great animation and the great song "Christmas Vacation" by Mavis Staples, which, by the way, go online and look up National Lampoon's "Marry You," which is like a hybrid of Bruno Mars's "Marry You" and "Christmas Vacation." I swear it works so well. Like, you honestly can't believe that these two songs, completely different, would mesh together as well as they do. But definitely go check that song out. I'll put it in the link over here on the corner, so you can definitely listen to it. I was surprised when I heard how good this meshing was, but the song itself is great too. It's a great song to listen to. It's a great way to open the movie with the animation. Just gets you ready for what's coming. And animated movie openings in the 80s, man, they were just something else. It's something I really wish we can get again, but more and more often nowadays, most people forget to do that and just go straight into the movie, which I get why, but it's still something I personally miss mostly. Is there anything else I want to talk about with this movie? I mean, I guess I could really say my first exposure to this movie was actually about almost 15 years after it came out. I rented it from the Giant Eagle that I worked at when we still had the video store, and I quickly fell in love with it. And then it was on NBC just a few days after that. Like ABC, I think in '92 first had it for a couple years, and then from like '94 up until about 2005, 2006. That was like an NBC must-see event. Like, you stop what you're doing, watch the movie on TV. It was like that with Home Alone as well. Like, for about 10 years, that is on NBC. Home Alone and Christmas Vacation were like the must-watch events on NBC, which you still get with It's a Wonderful Life. But other than that, though, most of the holiday movies and specials that used to be on the air nowadays, you can just get off of streaming and all that, which is fine. But it's those older memories that I do miss a lot. Like, I miss those must-see events, like holiday events. Like you have to stop what you're doing, turn on the TV, and watch something like Rudolph and Frosty, which thankfully you could still do on CBS. And then, unfortunately, Charlie Von Christmas is no longer on the major networks, but it's on every year on PBS. Just that kind of thing. That kind of stuff just takes me back to the good old days. I'm 33, and I'm saying the good old days, but that's just kind of something else that I wanted to bring up. But yeah, other than that, I got nothing else to say about Christmas Vacation. I think everything that's been said about it really is everything that needs to be said. It's still very funny after all these years. The cast still works great together. The writing is still top-notch. It's just a wonderful, wonderful movie that still holds up on so many levels. It's something you have to watch every Christmas. And the vacation movies have never really surpassed this. This was pretty much the peak for the vacation movies, because Vegas Vacation was another one, kind of like European Vacation. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst. And then you had the 2015 Vacation movie, which was just that's a total mess. Despite the fact they tried their best to bring in Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo again, it wasn't enough. Like that movie just went straight up for the gross out humor, and it took it just to a bad level that just really irks me every single time I think about it. It's still one of the worst movies I've seen in the past decade. Yeah, avoid the 2015 Vacation movie. I'm just saying. So, but yeah, Christmas Vacation. It's a holiday classic for a reason, and it's something that I would say see it this holiday if you haven't already. But chances are you probably have already done it.
This is the most romantic day of my whole life.
This is the story we're going to tell our grandchildren.
Barbara and Oliver Rose.
Wait a minute. Wait. What's your name? Barbara.
They met great.
I love rain.
God, I love it too.
They agreed on that.
Were you happy?
I'm more than happy. I'm married.
This house is so beautiful. And we live here.
House, car, boy, girl, puppy, kitty. The poor bastards never had a chance.
Your crystal is lovely.
Back around.
I didn't know anything about this before I met Oliver. My mother bought her glasses at the A&P, the kind that raised...
It always starts with the little things.
And that phony laugh.
All right, maybe overdid it. Let me have it. If love is blind, now I got you. Marriage is like having a stroke.
When I watch you eat, when I look at you lately, I just want to smash your face in.
Smash my face.
I want a divorce.
You can't have one. When a couple starts keeping score, there is no winning. It's only degrees of losing.
I am the one who found this house. I bought everything in it.
With my money. It's a lot easier to spend than it is to make it, honey bun.
You might not have made it if not for me, sweet cakes.
Never underestimate her as an adversary. Don't even talk to her.
Mitch,
Go.
Phil, the yellow areas are mine. The red areas are hers.
This seems rational to you both?
I got more square footage.
These people are going to hurt each other.
Get out of the car, hon.
And when trouble begins, it comes at you from directions you'd never expect.
We haven't passed any point of no return.
I have.
I'm sorry. I thought you were Barbara. Michael Douglas. Nobody who makes pate this good can be all bad. Kathleen Turner.
That depends on what the pate is made of.
And Danny DeVito.
Sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it?
The War of the Roses. Directed by Danny DeVito.
Making this the third pairing of Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito after they worked together on Romancing the Stone and The Jewel of the Nile. This is based off of a book by Warren Adler, which basically takes a look at 20th century divorces. And basically what you have here is the trailer pretty much shows you. You have a wealthy couple, they have probably the perfect marriage, but slowly but surely begins to fall apart, and what we end up getting is one of the most bitter divorce battles you'll probably ever see. And maybe one of the craziest dark comedies ever made. Like, really, this is probably one of the great dark comedies ever made. It really is dark, twisted, insane, but I friggin' love this movie. I mean, I really do love this movie. I love Danny DeVito's sense of humor and black comedy that's in this movie. Because he worked together with Douglas and Turner already, his chemistry with these two just works so well. Every time they are on, every one of them's on screen together, the chemistry just works. The comedy just works so well, and like I said, it's not afraid to go over the top and seriously dark, but it just works on so many levels. It's one of the most brutal, funniest comedies you'll ever see. That just says, you know what, screw it, we're gonna go all out, especially towards the end of the movie, where you have this big battle between Douglas and Turner, and just goes so insane and over the top, and has an ending that people at the time thought was way too dark because they wanted the happy ending. But that's just a great thing about Danny DeVito. It's just like, sometimes you can't have a happy ending. You got to show them reality, even though the way this movie ends is insane. But in a sense, it makes a lot more sense than a legitimate happy ending does. But I won't spoil it here, but if you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, The War of the Roses. What really more can I say about it? It's one of the most brutal, insane, dark, sadistic black comedies you'll ever see. It's one of the great black comedies you'll ever see. And it's Danny DeVito doing what Danny DeVito does so well as a director. He's not afraid to take these things to extreme levels and just go all out. And this is him probably at his peak doing that. And, if you haven't seen it already, I'd say definitely check it out. If you want a good dark black comedy about divorce and like how bittering couples going back and forth that actually is entertaining, this is the movie for you. So there's that. So this is The War of the Roses, and like I said, great film. So let's go ahead and move on to the second dark comedy that came out this weekend, but didn't meet with as much success. Meryl Streep and Roseanne Barr in She-Devil.
Hi, this is Robin Leach, and I'm here at the luxurious home of the super glamorous romance writer, Mary Fisher. She's the woman who has everything. Beauty, fame,
My books reflect my own experience of lovemaking as sacred and beautiful.
and plenty of hired help.
I bet she makes you earn every penny, huh?
But could it be that something is missing from this romantic storybook world?
Oh, the little families, mummies and daddies, and dear little children. How lucky they are.
To see how the other half lives, meet Ruth Patchett, a domestic demon.
Your father loves mushroom soup.
Queen of a suburban paradise.
I want to barf. The woman is a walking disaster area.
What could these two women possibly have in common?
deranged woman out of here.
You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are. Devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are.
Justice serves those who serve themselves.
That's your life. It's too bad.
You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are. Devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are.
So this is Susan Seidelman's second comedy she directed in 1989. We've already looked at one of her other movies, Cookie, which had some potential but didn't work out so well. You pretty much could say the same thing about this movie here. I mean, when you really look at what you have here, you've got Meryl Streep, who was one of the top actresses at the time, one of the most nominated, most acclaimed Oscar-winning actresses at the time, and you put her together with Roseanne Barr, who was one of the biggest TV stars at the time with her show Roseanne. Put them together, you should have had something incredible here. But really, because War of the Roses came out on the exact same day, this movie just really did not... It didn't really... I don't think it really met the success factor that they were hoping for at Orion Pictures when they put this movie out. It's not a bad movie. It's not a bad idea either. There's a potential there for some really good comedy here. There are bits in here that are funny here and there, but I think for the most part they played a little bit too safe for its own good. I like the performances from Streep and Barr. I like Ed Begley Jr. in this. Also, you have Sylvia Miles and Linda Hunt. But yeah, like I said before, because War of the Roses came out, and I think that was a better black comedy than what this movie was trying to be. I think that this one got pushed under the rug, but War of the Roses ends up being the better film, and it really is the better film. I think this movie could have almost if they had just gone the insane route that something like War of the Roses did, maybe it would have been good. But I think they were just trying to make it safe and marketable because of Roseanne's popularity at the time. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this one. It's not a bad movie, but it could have been a whole lot better. I feel like with a better script, this maybe could, and more emphasis on going for more of the darker black comedy, you probably could have had something here. But for the most part, it's just a run-of-the-mill movie. Not something I'd rush on and see again. But I mean, it's okay for what it is. It could have been a whole lot better. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Triumph of the Spirit.
From Arnold Kovaleson, the Academy Award-winning producer of Platoon, comes Triumph of the Spirit, the true story of one man's fight for survival and victory in the face of death.
You must understand the officers bet on these fights. How many rounds? You fight till one goes down and can't get up.
Don't cry. As long as we're together, it's not the end of the world.
Edward James Olmos.
Connection in this place. Help me stay alive.
And Willem Dafoe.
If I live, I'll find you.
Triumph of the Spirit.
Capping off a pretty good second half of the decade for Willem Dafoe, who was just starting to grow into his own. He had started the career off early on with Heaven's Gate, but he was fired during the production of that movie. And then his first actual leading role wouldn't come until 2 years later. But he also did stuff like Streets of Fire, To Live and Die in L.A. He got an Oscar for Platoon. He was Jesus in Martin Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ. He was also in Mississippi Burning. And this was the last movie to end the decade for him. And it's needless to say, it certainly is no Platoon, and it certainly isn't another Rocky movie. Even though there is a good story here to tell. This is a story about This takes place during World War II. It takes place during the Holocaust. The majority of the film is set in the German Nazi death camp, and it just shows how this boxer was forced to fight for the SS Guards entertainment. And like I said, it really doesn't do anything special or anything interesting to make it stand out on its own. It's got a great cast here. You've got Edward James Olmos, Robert Loggia, Costas Mandylor. But for the most part, the movie is just kind of... I won't say it's bad. It's just kind of like, okay, what do you do? Okay, this is this isn't bad, but give me something to really get invested in this. I mean, I need a hook. I need something to get me to be like, okay, there is value here, and I just really couldn't find it in this movie. I mean, it does try its best, but it's just kind of like, it's like She-Devil. It's like kind of run-of-the-mill, nothing too crazy, nothing too spectacular or anything, but it's there, it exists. Probably won't ever watch it again, but let's go ahead and look at the last movie, and the last movie is Fear, Death, and Anxiety. I can't remember if that's actually the name. Let me double check. Fear, Anxiety, and Depression. That's how you know we're off to a bad start here. Okay, I might be over-exaggerating a little bit here, but this is actually the first film directed by Todd Solondz, who would have much better success with his next movie, which would be Welcome to the Dollhouse, 6 years later. But I mean, honestly, I haven't seen this movie before, and I couldn't even find a real trailer for it. I just had that clip I just showed you was just a trailer somebody had put together online, but I mean, it doesn't, like I said, I haven't seen it before, and I might have been a little bit too harsh on it at first, but it's, I mean, from a little bit I've seen from it, it doesn't really look like there's not that much there to it. I mean, it looks like an independent movie. Most of the people in the leading roles I've never seen before, even though Stanley Tucci is in this movie, and I think this was one of his earliest film roles, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, though, there's not really a whole lot there to talk about here. Maybe there could have been something, maybe there's something here that I'm not seeing, but it's not something I'd rush out to see at any point, but just wanted to let you know that it existed, it came out, so there you go, Fear, Anxiety, and Depression.
It's a California fees.
It's $226.
Well, we only have $27.30. What does that get us?
Nowhere.
Corey's taking his brother Jimmy on a ride.
These two boys already traveled more than 80 miles across the state.
We've hired someone to find him. What's his problem?
He's just shy.
But Jimmy's got a secret
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
that could make this the ride of their lives.
Look at him. He's a wizard.
He's headed for the video championship.
This guy?
What is that?
Power glove.
Yeah, well, just keep your power gloves up for, all right?
With a touch of romance
I am not kissing a boy.
and a ton of trouble.
That's huge.
We're too late.
1 feet down! Sorry about that. You maniac!
They'll get there any way they can.
That way! Here we come!
It's Jimmy! It's Jimmy!
Come here! Stop them! Hey!
Now, what do you think you're doing to him?
I'll just let you tell him to do what you want him to do. How about once ask him what he wants to do, huh?
Now,
Video Armageddon.
it's going to take a lot of guts,
You can do it!
a little magic,
You're back!
and the wizard, Fred Savage. The Wizard.
So this was Fred Savage's second big screen outing after the Wonder Years. We already had Little Monsters earlier in the year, but more importantly, this movie had a lot of extensive product placements, not just for Universal Studios. I mean, the third act of the movie is pretty much taking place in Universal Studios Hollywood, so you're going to see a lot of Universal properties in this movie. But more importantly, you see a lot of Nintendo in this movie. Nintendo had an extensive amount of product placement in this movie. Some for stuff that was pretty awesome, like this was the first time many people saw Super Mario Bros. 3 for the first time anywhere in North America. And then they introduced the Power Glove, and I don't think I need to tell you how that panned out. But, as far as the movie itself goes, it's difficult, it's complicated. Like, it's a very generic movie, to say the least. Like, it's a very formulaic story. There's nothing really exciting or different that makes it stand out on its own. It just doesn't really do anything to push itself to another level that it should be good at. But, I mean, I don't hate it either. Like, I went into this thinking, okay, I've heard the bad things about it. Chances are I'm probably not going to like this movie all that much. But, I didn't hate it. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. I think it's just kind of in the middle. Like, I see elements in here that do kind of work, but the stuff that doesn't really work just really doesn't come together in the end. I think the biggest problem with this movie has, like I said before, it's basically just a feature-length commercial for Universal Studios Hollywood and Nintendo, but it's one of those things that's made by people that clearly have no idea what Nintendo really can do. Like, in this movie, they make it seem like Nintendo brings everybody together. Like, it brings the whole family together. And it's just like, good and damn well that Nintendo does not bring the family together. At least not with this. Of course, they tried to do it later on with, like, the Wii and all that. The Wii and the Switch and all that. But yeah, good and well that Nintendo doesn't bring people together like this movie makes you think it does. But even for a movie about Nintendo, there's not really a whole lot there for it. I mean, overall, the biggest problem with the movie is that it's a movie it's basically the same problem we have with most video game movies nowadays. Like, most video game movies, they think they know their source material. They think they know what's going to appeal to people, but this movie, it just doesn't really feel like that. And even though Nintendo clearly had a lot of influence on this movie, I just don't think it was enough of what they really wanted to get from this. And I think it was also because they had to rush this out quickly, because they actually were supposed to put this out in the summer of '90, but because the Jetsons movie was dealing with so many behind-the-scenes production problems, they pushed that one back and they pushed this one up. So maybe that's why we didn't really get the movie that I think they really wanted to get, because they had to rush this out so quickly. But yeah, other than that, The Wizard doesn't really have a whole lot there. I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it's as great as most people were expecting it to be. But it's basically run-of-the-mill. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but I mean, it's fine for what it is. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. A movie you probably never heard of, but the cast in it is pretty good. Family Business.
What, are you crazy? I spent my lifetime thieving with my father, and now I'm going to thieve with my son. The two of you crazy?
What a day this has been.
It's not safe to be a thief.
Who the hell put in your head that being safe is what life is all about?
Too young to play it safe.
And me too.
What a grand mood I'm in.
Along with those strong genes, my father passes on a lot of other crap to go with it. So you stay away from him, all right?
Why, it's almost like being in love.
High stakes, low risk, non-violent. Jimmy Choo pays us an even million.
I'm in.
You're starting at the top.
Yeah, that's America. Every generation does a little bit better.
You are not listening to me! Listen to me, you don't! Listen to what I freaking mean!
What the hell is wrong with your family?
What's wrong with my family is my lunatic father.
This is why I hated putting on your snooze.
Please!
Did we bust into the wrong place?
There's nothing like a good robbery to bring a family together.
Welcome home, Vito.
This is one of those movies that when I had a CD warehouse around where I live, I would find it in there. I'd find it for dirt cheap. I'd see the cast. It's just like Sean Connery, Dustin Hoffman, Matthew Broderick. Sounds pretty good. Directed by Sidney Lumet. Sounds good. Let me watch it. And you watch it, and it's just like, I mean, there's stuff. I mean, the trailer looked pretty promising. I like the music choice they had. I like some of the comedy elements in there. But when you watch the movie itself, it's just like, it's just okay. Like, I think it's kind of like The Wizard. It's just okay. It doesn't really do a whole lot to make it stand out on its own. It has a good concept, has a good premise, great cast in it. But when you watch the movie itself, it's just kind of like, okay, what is this really doing that I haven't seen done before in many other movies like this? The cast is great. I like the chemistry between Connery, Hoffman, and Broderick as this grandfather, father, and son working together as robbers. I think that's a fun little concept to work with here, and I just kind of wish they had just a better script to make me think this is better than some of the other movies that would be similar to this type of film. But I mean, for the most part, it's okay. I wish it would have been a little bit better, considering the talent involved, considering how good the trailer was, but that's family business. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie.
In the dead of winter, two desperate criminals escape from prison near the Canadian border. Some believe they perished in the woods.
Hey, I found them for you.
Sure, if you know who these are. Caroline has found our lost priest. This is Father Brown and Father Riley.
But who would believe that such a small town could make such a big mistake?
You don't look a thing like your pictures. Fasting fresh.
Now, they've got a profession to fake.
Bishop Nogalich points out it's his turn to say the grace.
Let him read. It's his turn. I don't want to get in anybody's face here.
A confession to take.
That's my father, privacy. I've been sleeping with this woman.
Huh? All right, what? You're not married to her?
No.
You married someone else?
To my wife.
Do I know about this?
No. But what are you worried about now? Forget about it.
A woman to win.
Yeah, well, you don't like the guy. What'd you go to bed with him for?
For $5. What, you got $5? I'll go to bed with you too. What, you think that's a sin?
Actually, you got $5.
Get out of here.
And a future to plan.
There's some booze and some broads, and this country can kiss my...
Robert De Niro.
Father, I've been shot.
I'm very happy for you.
Sean Penn.
Be nice to strangers, because sometimes you're a stranger too.
This is not a fitting grace. What's wrong with it?
We're no angels.
He says that there's something wrong about you. Yeah, you told him you don't know the half of me.
We're No Angels. This is a remake of a 1955 film of the same name. Got a great cast involved. Robert De Niro, Sean Penn, Demi Moore. You also have Wallace Shawn, Hoyt Axton, Bruno Kirby. Produced by Art Linson, who produced The Untouchables. Written by David Mamet, who wrote The Untouchables. Neil Jordan, who would later go on to direct The Crying Game. And they made a pretty good movie. I won't say it's one of the best movies of the year, but I think it's a lot better than I think people give it credit for. There are parts in here where I actually did legitimately laugh a little bit harder than I think most people would have. But, yeah, it's a fun concept. It's a fun movie that they have here. I think there was a lot of elements that something like Sister Act probably took from this a couple years later. And I think Sister Act did this movie a little bit better, but what they have here is pretty good. I think it's a lot better than people give it credit for. I like watching Robert De Niro and Sean Penn work off each other, and I thought Demi Moore was pretty good in the film. It's a pretty fun movie. If you haven't seen We're No Angels, I'd say definitely check it out. I think it's one of those movies that's a little bit more underrated, and I think people should give it another chance if they can. So that's my thoughts on We're No Angels. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. And the next movie is Paul Newman in Blaze.
The three best friends that the poor people ever had. Jesus Christ, Sears and Roebuck, and Earl K.R. Mr. Governor.
He was powerful and famous.
Television? How do I look?
She was poor and unknown.
Have you ever thought about getting into the entertainment field?
You mean show business?
He was determined to be re-elected.
There would be a chicken in every pot. Every man would be a king.
She was determined to be a star.
You brought me here to take my clothes off.
Well, if you won't do it for yourself, Blaze Star, will you do it for America?
This is their story.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Blaze Star, it's here.
Some show you got there, gal. It's a powerful expression of basic human needs.
Now, who's the guy with the pot?
That's the governor, and he wants to meet you.
Earl Kemper.
It's a great pleasure to meet you, Your Honor.
God, them's a big pair of rascals you got.
Are you talking about my eyes, Governor?
Call me Earl.
Touchstone Pictures presents Paul Newman.
I must say, you look like a Democrat to me.
As the legendary governor, Earl K. Long.
You can't stop the future, it's coming.
And introducing Lolita Davidovich as the heat behind the headlines. Blaze.
You know, Earl, in a certain way, we're both kind of in show business.
Well, you are catching on to the wheels of government real quick, child.
It was a romance that shocked the country.
Marry me.
After this election's over.
And a love affair that couldn't be stopped.
Do you like to make love with your boots on?
There's better traction that way.
Damn it, Earl, you got trouble. People say you've been keeping company with a stripper.
Fair papers, no right, sticking cameras up people's pants.
A
Academy Award winner Paul Newman is Governor Earl K. Long.
What about that striptease dancer? Now that's a damn lie.
It's a damn lie.
Damn lie.
Not bad. Finest bunch of yes men ever assembled.
Yes, sir.
We got to talk some sense into him, or he flushes the entire Democratic Party right down the crapper.
What are you scared of?
Scared of losing you. Dad fell in love with a striptease dancer. Well, they're right. I'm guilty.
Forced to choose between the office he held
Still love me if I wasn't a fine governor of the great state of Louisiana.
and the woman he loved.
Do you still love me if I was flat chest and worked in a fish house?
He chose both.
Play star. You better get used to her.
Never trust a man who says trust me.
Can I trust you?
Hell no.
What a wonderful thing to say.
Plays.
Something I gotta confess.
Well, what's that?
I can't cook.
We'll work around it.
Ron Shelton's second film after his first movie, Bull Durham, was such a big critical and commercial success the year before. This one was not the big success I think they wanted it to be, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I like Ron Shelton as a director and writer. He's very good at that. And you got Paul Newman giving probably one of his more fun performances I've seen from him in a long time. Lolita Davidovich is really good in this movie. She's been in a couple movies before this, even though the trailer says introducing Lolita Davidovich, but I think it's because this is the first movie where she literally uses her full last name. I think the Adventures in Babysitting, she only called herself Lolita Davida. So I don't know, maybe that, I don't know, but that's what I think. That's what my thinking from that. But yeah, this is a pretty funny movie. Like, this is a movie that I think a lot of people don't really talk about all that much. Not quite Bull Durham good, but it has enough funny moments in there, and the chemistry between Newman and Davidovich works so well that I think a lot of people should give it another chance if they can. It's a very funny movie, very well made film. I definitely say check it out if you can. Blaze with Paul Newman in it, definitely a very good movie. So let's go to the next movie, and the next movie is the biggest movie of the year in terms of the Oscars, Best Picture winner, and that is Driving Miss Daisy.
My mother's a little high-strung. The fact is, you'd be working for me. She can say anything she likes, but she can't fire you.
I wouldn't be in your shoes if the sweet Lord Jesus come down and asked me himself.
I don't need you. I don't want you. And I don't like you saying I'm rich. What are you doing?
I'm trying to drive you to the store.
You're speeding, I can see it.
We're only doing about 19 miles an hour.
I like to go under the speed limit.
But the speed limit's 35, yeah.
Nothing came easy.
Morning, Miss Daisy.
You leave my flower bed alone.
They didn't connect.
I just love a house of pictures, Miss Daisy.
I don't want you nosing through my things.
They couldn't agree.
You took the wrong turn at Opelika.
Well, now, you took it with me, Miss Daisy. And you got the map.
They wouldn't give in.
Well, I'll help you to the door.
Thank you, Hulk. I can help myself.
Now, ain't just something back of the net you look at while you going wherever you got to go. I'm a man.
But from place to place.
I ever tell you about the first time I leave the state of Georgia?
When was that?
A few minutes back.
From season to season.
It's not a Christmas present.
Oh, no.
Let's go on, open it up.
Well, look at that. Ain't nobody never given me that book before, Miss Daisy.
For 25 years, they shared each other's lives.
You ought not to be driving anything the way you see.
How you know how I can see less than you can look out my eyes.
And touched each other's hearts.
Hulk?
Yes.
You're my best friend.
Morgan Freeman, Jessica Tandy, Dan Aykroyd, Driving Miss Daisy.
Now, do I think this really is the best picture of 1989? Probably not. I mean, this is one of those situations where the best picture of the year was not really the best picture. Don't get me wrong. This is a pretty good movie. I like Morgan Freeman. I like Jessica Tandy. I like Dan Aykroyd. I like the cast they have here. But in a year where you had stuff like Do the Right Thing, Born on the 4th of July, some of these great movies that really did not get as big of an Oscar attention. Well, Born on the 4th of July did, but not Do the Right Thing. Do the Right Thing only got one nomination that year. even something like Batman. Remember, the Academy Awards did nominate blockbusters back then, like Indiana Jones and The Raiders of the Lost Ark got nominated for Best Picture. E.T. got nominated for Best Picture. Star Wars, the original Star Wars, got nominated for Best Picture. And do I really think this is one of the best movie of '89? No, but like I said, I don't hate this movie. I think it is a legitimately good movie. I think it works mostly because of the cast. Jessica Tandy and Morgan Freeman work off each other so well, and Morgan Freeman gives a great performance in this. And sadly, he didn't get a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for this. He would get one later down the line, but this is a good performance from him that I feel like should have. Actually, no, I take that back, because the next movie that we're going to talk about has the Best Supporting Actor winner in that year, and that I thought was a good performance. But Jessica Tandy, I think she did deserve to win Best Actress. Best Picture, not so much. Like, I don't think this really deserved to win Best Picture. But like I said, I do enjoy this movie a lot. I think it has a little bit too much of the same cliches you'd see in most Oscar bait movies. And, you know, like I said, I don't hate the movie. I think it's a very good film. I think it's a very well-made film. Do I think it's the best picture of the year? No. But at least I liked it a lot more than the remake of Driving Miss Daisy, Green Book, which won Best Picture, which I still don't understand why that won Best Picture. But let's be honest, Green Book is pretty much Driving Miss Daisy. It's the same concept. It's the same movie. No matter what anybody tells you, it's the same movie. But Driving Miss Daisy is a far better movie in my opinion. So there you go. That's Driving Miss Daisy. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. And the next movie is Glory.
I ran away when I was 12 years old. I ain't never looked back.
What you doing since then?
I run for president. I ain't win, though.
You men enlisted in this regiment, the understanding that you would be paid $13 a month. I have been notified that since you are a colored regiment, you will be paid $10 a month.
I mean, a colored soldier stop a bullet just as good as a white one. And for less money, too.
If you men will take no pay, then none of us will.
Why push them so hard? Marching is probably all they'll ever get to do.
And they gotta know that nobody's gonna let them fight. Am I right?
Let you take your regiment out to fight.
When?
You are bright-eyed, aren't you?
When?
The time's coming when we're gonna have to ante up. Ante up and kick in like men. Like men!
I ain't fighting this war for you, sir.
Ain't no dream. We run away slaves, but we come back fighting men.
We ready, kind of.
Hey, Mel, cookie boy!
Glory, of course, takes place during the Civil War, and just phenomenal movie, man. One of the great war movies ever made, and this has the real Best Supporting Actor winner of the year. Well, he did win Best Supporting Actor, but Denzel Washington is fantastic in this movie. Morgan Freeman is really good in this movie too. I do also like Matthew Broderick and Cary Elwes in this, but Denzel Washington really steals the show in this movie. This is one of the first movies he ever won an Oscar for. And you can see why. He's given it his all in this movie. It's a great performance for him. And it's a great movie overall. I love the atmosphere. I love the visual style of this movie. The music by James Horner is great. It's a great It's a great movie about the Civil War. It's a movie that I remember watching in high school and thinking how good it was. And not many movies about the Civil War, in my opinion, really captures this in the modern movie era like this movie does. Like, you get some every once in a while, but this is one of the few ones that still holds up even over 30 years later. This is still a terrific, terrific film. If you haven't seen Glory yet, highly recommend checking it out. Fantastic Civil War film. And with that said, let's get to the last movie. And the last movie is Enemies, a Love Story.
Paul Mazursky, the director of An Unmarried Woman and Down and Out in Beverly Hills, now brings to the screen a story from Nobel Prize-winning author Isaac Bashevis Singer. It is 1949. The nightmare of Nazi Germany is over, and Herman Broder has come to New York City to begin a new life.
Yes, sir. This is America. Huh?
Married to the woman who saved his life during the war,
Will we have a child?
God wills it. We'll have one.
But in love with another woman, he can't live without.
All year you promised to take me.
I still a promise.
And the
I
last
will.
minute,
You
changed your mind.
What are you hitting me for?
I'll go myself.
Until the woman they said was dead turns up in New York.
Wife has returned.
Very much alive.
Once and for all, how many wives do you have?
I'm not dead. I'm not alive and I'm not dead. The truth is, I have no claim on him. He probably always loved you. I'm sure he slept with you before me. I came to him a virgin. Oh, congratulations. Men love virgins.
Tony Award winner Ron Silver is Herman.
I'm marrying again. A third wife? I'm crazy, that's the truth.
You always like this? Or did the war do it?
In her American film debut, Margaret Sophie Stein is Jadwiga.
That's wonderful.
From the unbearable lightness of being, Lena Olin is Masha.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
And Academy Award winner Angelica Houston is Tamara.
With nylon stockings on me. They dyed my hair, they polished my fingernails. God help me. I'm dead.
I can't live without Masha.
She's not your lover, she's your enemy.
Morgan Creek proudly presents a Paul Mazursky film, Enemies, a Love Story.
Another very underrated movie, in my opinion. This is a movie that not a lot of people really talk about. This is directed by Paul Mazursky, who did Down and Out in Beverly Hills, and can't remember the other movie. Let me double check here real quick. Moscow on the Hudson, that's what I wanted to say. He also did stuff like Bob Carroll and Ted and Alice, Harry and Tonto, An Unmarried Woman, Moon Over Parador. This is probably the last great movie that I see on his filmography that I really did enjoy. I do like this movie a whole lot. The performances by Ron Silver. You also have Angelica Houston, Lena Olin, and trying to make sure I get this name right here. That's why I'm moving in closely. Margaret Sophie Stein. These people work off each other so well, and you actually do enjoy the script a whole lot. The writing and the scripting in this is really good. Roger Simon and Mazursky do a very good job of adapting this story, which is based off of I'm just double checking here again. It's based off of a novel. I thought it was but it was also an off-Broadway play, and if I remember correctly, I think Ron Silver was in the Broadway play of this, but I can't be for certain, but don't quote me on that. But the movie itself is really good. I love the performances by Houston, Olin, and Sophie Stein. I think they all give this unique performance to their characters that works very well. It makes you remember these characters so much. Ron Silver is great with the chemistry between all three of them. They're just coming off each other so good. And the music is very good. I like the cinematography. They did a very good job of capturing 1949 New York in a way after World War II ended. Just a phenomenal movie, a very underrated movie, but in my opinion, Paul Mazursky's Enemies, a Love Story, definitely a movie you got to check out.
I wanted to be a good American. I wanted to serve my country. I couldn't wait to fight my first war.
We got him! We got him! Look, put it out!
Let the word go forth.
Daddy, the soldier!
That the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans.
Your brother's a hard worker, Tommy. Win or lose, school, sports, life. As long as you do your best. That's what matters to God.
First off, young men, let's get one thing straight. There is nothing prouder as a United States Marine.
Our dad's got to go to WW2. This is our chance to do something. You should think about what you're doing. You could get yourself killed. Did you ever think about that? Just help me, Jesus. Help me to make the right decision. Sometimes I just like to stay here and never leave. But I gotta go.
13,000 miles. It's a long way to go to fight a war.
Don't you know what it means to me to be a Marine, Dad? Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted this. I wanted to serve my country. I want to go to Vietnam. And I'll die there if I have to.
There's something happening here.
You gotta try and stay alive, okay? You hear me? You hear me?
Chicago has an Alice in Wonderland quality about it. Things are getting curiouser and curiouser.
Come on, get up there, get up there. Keep going, come on.
Honey, don't stop.
Mom!
Honey!
What's going down? There's battle lines being drawn, and nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind are getting so much resistance from behind. We find a way to stop. Hey, what's that sound?
Why are you here tonight?
We are here to tell the truth. People say if you don't love America, then get the hell out. Traitor! Well, I love America.
This is Tom Cruise's big follow-up to Rain Man, which did not get him any Academy Award consideration, even though the movie won Best Picture. He did get nominated for Best Actor for this movie. Oliver Stone won Best Director for this. He also was nominated for Best Screenplay. Was also nominated for Best Picture, but of course lost to Driving Miss Daisy. And this is classic Oliver Stone. This is Oliver Stone doing what Oliver Stone does best, and Born on the 4th of July is a fantastic movie. It's the first movie that really showcases more of what Tom Cruise can do as an actor. Like, Tom Cruise wasn't a bad actor prior to this. I mean, he did Rain Man, he did Top Gun, but this was the first movie that branched him out as an actor. I think more people started to realize, hey, this guy has actually got some potential. He's got some acting chops here. And we would see later on down the line that he did have a lot of acting. He does have a lot of acting chops. He's a pretty solid actor. Can be crazy at times, but when he puts his all into a performance, it definitely shows here, and this is one of his best performances. He plays this character of Ron Kovic so well, because it's based off of Ron Kovic's life story, the story of Born on the 4th of July. It takes place during the Vietnam War, and Tom Cruise channels this performance very well. He gives a great performance here. You really feel for this character. This performance really should have won Best Actor in 1989. I can't remember off the top of my head what won Best Actor. Give me one sec. Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot, which I already said was a great performance, yeah, if I had to choose between Daniel Day-Lewis and Tom Cruise, I'd probably say Daniel Day-Lewis's performance was better in My Left Foot, just barely. I mean, this was a very good year for acting nominees, and I thought Tom Cruise gave the second best performance of the 5 nominated actors. But it's a great performance by him. I do kind of wish it won Best Actor and Best Picture, but you know, like I said, I don't hate Driving Miss Daisy, but I do think this, out of the 5 nominated movies, I feel like this one probably should have won Best Picture, in my opinion, because I just thought it was the better movie out of all the 5 nominated films. I mean, this movie is just a wonderful, wonderful movie. The performances are great. The writing is top-notch. They do a great job bringing you back to the time of the Vietnam War and the 60s and the 70s and all that. And it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal movie. Just a fantastic film. One of Oliver Stone's best movies. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. And the next movie is Tango and Cash.
I'll tell you one thing. Whoever set us up is really connected.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Relax. Soak. And don't flatter yourself.
Meet Ray Tango. He likes money.
Easy come, easy go.
But doesn't bother with cash. Meet Gay Cash. He won't dance around trouble and doesn't mind stepping on toes.
You karate guys.
2 of LA's top rival cops are having a good time staying in rhythm.
You know me, huh? Yeah, I hear you're the second best cop in LA. That's funny. I hear the same thing about you.
But they're going to have to work together, even if it kills them.
Back now!
We'll take it.
No, that's one of a kind. We won't put a scratch on it.
sleep with my sister?
I was so drunk, I don't remember, okay?
Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. Tango and Cash.
There actually is a lot behind the scenes of this movie that really not a lot of people really talk about, but when you really look at what this movie had to go through, it's pretty crazy. This was supposed to be a pairing of Sylvester Stallone and Patrick Swayze. Swayze dropped out to do Roadhouse. This was actually supposed to be directed, but this is directed by Andrei Konchalovsky, who did Runaway Train, which is a phenomenal, underrated action film. If you haven't seen that one, you should definitely check it out. And he was fired from the movie nearly 3 months before the movie was supposed to come out. They switched directors. The director was replaced by Albert Magnoli, and then one of the executive producers, Peter McDonald, who actually directed Stallone in Rambo 3, he came in to direct the movie at one point. He was one of the second unit directors. Stallone had Barry Sonnenfeld, as cinematographer, fired from the film, and he had the guy who did Lock Up, the cinematography on that one, Donald E. Thorne, he came in to replace them. And so the movie just barely made it to theaters before its December release date. This was supposed to come out on December 15th, but because of everything that had been going on, Warner Brothers had to cut the movie, had to push the movie back a week, and the film barely got finished. Let me put it this way. The film was released in theaters on December 22nd. They finished filming this on October 20th. That's 8 weeks before the movie was scheduled to come out in theaters. I mean, the story behind this movie is unbelievable. Like, you can't believe this crazy insanity behind this particular movie. And when you watch the trailer and you watch the movie, you can kind of see why. I mean, when you look at it, they really don't have an idea of what they wanted to do here. I don't know if they wanted to make fun of the buddy cop comedy scenario or action movies in general, because there's times in this movie where they'll make self-referential jokes about something. Like there's one part where Stallone makes fun of Rambo, and it's funny, but it just feels out of place for what they were trying to do here. And it's just like, it's crazy the behind-the-scenes drama this movie had behind it. Yeah, just this behind-the-scenes drama behind this movie is unbelievable. But what's even more unbelievable is that this movie is actually kind of fun. Like, it is kind of fun watching Stallone and Kurt Russell work off of each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, the movie is a mess. It's a mess of a movie, but it's one of those fun messes. It's one of those so bad it's good movies that you watch and you look at it and you go, you know what? I'm kind of having a lot of fun with this. It's incredibly stupid. The plot just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The writing and the tone and what they're trying to do is all over the place. But at the same time, you can't help but laugh at some of the most ridiculous things about it. I mean, it reminded me so much of Over the Top. I mean, it's a movie about arm wrestling, and yet somehow it's a bad movie, but it's one of those movies that is so enjoyably bad that you just can't help but love it. It's one of those ridiculous, insane movies. This one isn't too insane, but just the stuff behind the scenes and just the craziness that goes on in between what happened behind the scenes and what's on the screen, it makes it more fun than I think it needs to be. It's one of those movies that I think is so bad it's good. It's one I definitely think you should watch. If you love a so bad it's good movie, this is definitely one you want to see. Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell in Tango and Cash. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Steven Spielberg's remake of Always.
Tanker base! We got a situation here! Sector K! We're cooking! Let's go! Let's go!
You magnificent pagan god!
Of course reply something inside.
So tell me you love me. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Oh, tell me, tell me!
Where'd you get that oil on your face?
Where?
Well, it's here. Look at it. It's terrible.
Thanks.
Someday you'll find all the love are blind.
A life of danger.
My engine's on fire! Can you believe that? And I was in such a good mood.
A land of fire.
Hey, that dive is way too steep.
They thought their world had ended. I know you can't see me. It had only just begun. But I'm right here. From director Steven Spielberg. Always.
You know, much as I like Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker, and I really do love his work as a filmmaker. I get excited every time a new movie comes out. The guy has not been perfect. I mean, he, like everybody else, everyone is entitled to make a couple bad movies here and there. Not to say that this is a bad movie, but how do I put this? It's one of those times where he tried a little too hard to be a little Oscar baity. He had done that a couple of times, like before Indiana Jones, he did Empire of the Sun, which is not a terrible movie, but it's one of those movies where I think everybody kind of knew he's milking it to try to get some Oscar consideration for this. Unlike a movie like The Color Purple, which is very much an Oscar bait movie, but an Oscar bait movie that is very well done. And I think Spielberg realized that after this movie came out, that this is just kind of like he's got to be better with these type of movies. And so he made Schindler's List, which is a classic movie. It's one of those movies that's so great, but so hard to watch. I mean, we'll get to that one eventually, but when you look at Always, I think, is a movie that's trying to be something different and unique for Steven Spielberg. It's a smaller scale movie compared to what we usually see from him. It's perfectly I would say this. It's perfectly fine for what it is. I like Richard Dreyfuss in this. I like Holly Hunter. I think these two actually made a much better movie a couple years later called Once Around. We'll get to that in 91. John Goodman's great in this. Brad Johnson is pretty good here. Audrey Hepburn's character is very good in this for the little bit she's in. It's not a terrible movie. It's a solidly made movie, but for Steven Spielberg, when you have that type of a director on board here, you got to really put your A game here. And I really don't think he did it. I think this goes back to one of the things about Steven Spielberg is that he'll put more effort into one movie that comes out the same year than he does another film. And I think this is one of those examples. Like when you watch for example, when you watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, phenomenal movie. Always, not so much. Jurassic Park, great. The rare example of him getting it right both times. Jurassic Park, great movie. Schindler's List, great movie. And then 97 comes around when you have the lesser extent. The Lost World, which I still think is his worst movie. And Amistad, which is about on the same level as this. And then you have something like War of the Worlds, which is... Munich, great film. What else? Another rare example of a good year. Minority Report, fantastic sci-fi film. Catch Me If You Can, great movie, great caper film. And then you have another example of one's good, one eh, and the good one Tintin and War Horse. Tintin's the better movie. War Horse, not so much. War Horse is right up there with one of Spielberg's worst films. I mean, he does this a lot, but most of the time he's very consistent, but this is one of those times where he really was trying too hard to get an Oscar out of this. And I think a movie like Ghost mainly did this plot a lot better, and we'll get to Ghost in the next year, but I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, not a bad movie, but it's a movie that doesn't really hold a lot of rewatchability for me and a lot of people, and it just really just kind of... It's just not one of his better movies. It's instantly forgettable. You watch it, you move on, and then you see something much better from him later on down the line. But that's my thoughts on Always. Not a bad movie, but not a good movie either. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Michael Moore's Roger and Me.
For 3 generations, Flint, Michigan, USA built cars for General Motors, the world's largest corporation. Until Roger Smith, the chairman of General Motors, shut down the assembly lines.
We do not have any plan to cut our workforce.
Closed 11 automobile plants.
This is not a plant closing, it's a loss of one product line.
And laid off 30,000 workers.
He has as much concern about these people as you do.
Fire Roger Smith! Fire Roger Smith!
Now, Michael Moore, a filmmaker who grew up in Flint, takes us back to his hometown.
We just love it so. The stores, what's left of them.
Sheriff's Department.
It's a great place to live.
You need to put you up. Evict you from the house right now.
To meet the people.
Those people are hungry. He's not.
Where are you guys going?
Oh, we're going up to the 14th floor.
Do you have an appointment?
No, we're going to try and see Roger Smith.
No, you're not.
See the city.
Becky, what are some of the things that visitors ask us here?
First off, where is the bathroom?
And find out why the world's largest automaker abandoned them both.
I feel sorry for the people that have kids right now. What are they going to grow up to? What are they looking forward to?
Roger and Me. The story of one man's search for the truth.
I have one question.
Would you mind leaving?
On the sidewalk.
Call General Motors.
That's off limits.
Mr. Smith is not in.
I don't think we've met. I really don't know.
This guy, out.
Roger and Me.
And Flint, Michigan would never have a problem again. Yeah, Roger and Me. Anyway, if you know what happened in Flint, Michigan with the water and all that, you'd know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Roger and Me. Michael Moore's first film that really got him onto the open. I believe this is actually his first film in general. This is his directorial debut, and for a directorial debut, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty funny. It's a well-made documentary. I like that. Michael Moore. Say what you will about the guy, he does put his heart and soul into these movies. He really does, and this is just a great movie to watch and see how he's trying his best to really get inside these people's heads, these people that the movie is antagonizing, and it's just so funny and so insane to watch. It's insanity. It's insanity at some points in here. And it's a movie that honestly really does hold up well over time. I mean, this is a movie that was made back in 1989, and it still has a lot of merit even today when you see all these automobile plants and this town getting completely wiped out. And sadly, you're seeing a lot more of that across the country and wherever you live in. You're seeing all these places that were used to be booming businesses, and they leave, and then all of a sudden everything else shuts down. It's something that sadly is taking place a lot all over the country, and it's like I said, it's something that really does hold the test of time. It stands the test of time, and you really do come back to it, and you realize a lot of this stuff can still hold up even today, no matter where you live. But just a wonderful, wonderful movie. I think it's very underrated compared to what Michael Moore has done since then. Definitely check this one out. Roger and Me. Fantastic film. You gotta check it out.
When Jenny and Steve came home from vacation,
Ben, we're home.
they weren't ready for Dad's surprise.
I got married.
With who?
They got a new stepmother.
Call me Mom. How could you have brought that woman into our house?
We do have great sex.
I realize I am an acquired taste.
Now they couldn't be happier.
Aren't you going to give your new grandma a kiss?
No way.
She's a one-of-a-kind woman, living in two bodies.
Oh, hello.
They're lucky to have a stepmother who's so good in the kitchen.
Can I have my breakfast now?
So helpful in the bedroom.
Help yourself. I'm covered with it.
So loved by her stepkids. And since she's moved in, this house is more than a home.
This is war!
I love a good scrap.
Finally, the motion picture that answers the question,
This is a major lawsuit.
which witch is which?
I got everything under control!
Wicked Stepmother.
So Wicked Stepmother was notable for being the last film starring Bette Davis, who withdrew from the project after the movie began. She didn't like the fact that there was a lot of problems with the script, she didn't like Cohen's direction, and she didn't like the way she was being photographed. And Larry Cohen, the director of this, claimed that she really had dropped out because of her ill health, and she disputed that claim because she thought it would affect any future roles that she would have gotten. Although she did die about 8 months after this movie came out. She died in October of '89. This came out in February. So, I don't know. Maybe Larry Cohen was onto something. But from the trailer here, there is a lot of potential here. But I don't know. I haven't heard too much about this movie. But from the little bit I've seen here, there is potential for something a little crazy, a little over the top. But I don't know. It has a good cast involved. You got Betty Davis, Barbara Correa, Lionel Stander, Colleen Camp, David Rausch, Tom Bosley, Richard Mull, Seymour Cassell. But you don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. Maybe that's for a good reason. Maybe not. Who knows? But I don't know. Might be something I might check out one day. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which I have seen, and that is Hayao Miyazaki's Castle in the Sky. So Castle in the Sky came out in 1986, originally in Japan. It came to America 3 years later through Streamline Pictures, who did these dubs for anime movies that weren't necessarily great, but they were what we had for the time. They also did another dub of another movie that came out in 1988, which is probably one of the greatest anime movies of all time, but we will get to that one in the next episode, because that also came out in 1989 here in America. But I've seen the other dubs of Castle in the Sky. It's a great movie. It's one of Miyazaki's... It's Miyazaki doing what Miyazaki does best. It's well animated. The voice work is top-notch from the dubs that I've seen later on, like the ones from Disney, and then the one that Shout Factory did. And, I mean, it's a really good movie. Is it one of Miyazaki's best movies? I don't think it is. I would say that maybe something like Spirited Away would probably be one of Miyazaki's best movies ever made. And we'll get to that one whenever we get to that one in 2002. But Castle in the Sky is a great movie. It's a great movie all around. If you haven't seen Miyazaki's work, you should definitely check that one out. So let's go and move on to the next movie, and the next movie is Lost Angels.
You might try just a little harder to understand our position.
I mean, it's got to be illegal or something.
Every time I get a phone call about you, it's trouble.
Until you're 18, anything at all they want to do to you is legal.
Are you bringing a complaint against your son for illegal possession of a weapon?
This kid needs a year in juvenile hall. That's the only thing that's going to straighten him out.
What is the matter with you people? There's a human being here. He's real. He's in trouble. And he's your child.
That's a great sound, isn't it?
Your mother and I, now we both know how easy it is to fall into the wrong crowd.
You're loyal, huh? That's a good quality. Are you sure they're worth it?
Say something! I need you to talk to me now!
What do you want? You want to hang out with your best friends? You want to hit the road? You want to party? What do you want?
I just want to belong someplace.
So the story of Lost Angels is this guy, Tim Doolin, played by Adam Horowitz. He's a troubled youth he's from a broken home in L.A. He's sent to a psychiatric hospital with a doctor played by Donald Sutherland, and he makes a connection with this doctor and a man who has issues of his own. And for this movie, this was actually Hugh Hudson's follow-up film after Revolution 4 years ago in 1985, which was a big disaster for him and Al Pacino. And from what I see here, it doesn't look too bad, honestly. It looks like a decent film. Donald Sutherland's a very good actor. You also got Amy Longcrane in this movie. Adam Horowitz is in this, and it looks like he's doing pretty well here. I mean, it's not a bad. It doesn't look like a bad movie, honestly. I don't know why it wasn't mentioned on the Box Office Mojo page. I guess because it didn't do well. Because looking on here on Wikipedia, it only made like $1 million, so it didn't do so well. But I don't know. It looks kind of promising. It might be something I might check out one day. So there's that. That's my thoughts on Lost Angels. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Signs of Life.
Fiberglass. The hell with fiberglass. The hell with you.
In a town like any other,
Good morning.
this will be a day like never before.
So I thought we'd have a little party this afternoon. I bought a cake.
It's big. Because today is the day that the town of East Hassett will be yanked out of the past.
You did a good job.
And dragged into the future.
Now we're out of business.
Done. Finished. Finito. But not without a fight.
Did you see that? Get my pants. I'm gonna go to work.
Mr. Coughlin called. He wants to try and save the boatyard. There's one thing in the whole world that's stronger than a woman's love, and that's a man's pride. You gotta kick him in the pride.
50 years and I like the next business.
I think you broke my windshield. Oops. This car was perfect.
Let me out! Surprise!
It's going to take a lot of laughter.
I don't think we can serve this.
Miss Mulder, you're in labor.
You think I don't know that? She has it? Did she?
And a little luck.
What are you guys up to? We was digging a hole this morning. Struck cake.
If I'd have been holding a gun, I'd have shot him. You must really love him.
Avenue Pictures presents the story of a place we've all known. Where ordinary people
Guess all the usual, Betty.
dream the most extraordinary dreams.
You can't be awake and have a nightmare, can you?
Signs of life.
Important thing is we're going in the right direction. Where the hell are we?
Starring 5-time Academy Award nominee Arthur Kennedy and the star of Full Metal Jacket and Mystic Pizza, Vincent D'Onofrio, and introducing Mary Louise Parker. Signs of life.
Well, this movie looks completely boring. I mean, there's not really much there. In fact, I'm looking on the Wikipedia page. You know what the plot for this is? Signs of Life is the story of a Maine man who is losing his bone in his business. Oh no. I mean, it's got a decent cast to it. I mean, Beau Bridges, Vincent D'Onofrio, Georgia Engel, Kathy Bates, Mary Louise Parker. I mean, but that premise does not really say a whole lot about how good this movie could be. I mean, from this trailer, it just looks like a melodramatic movie. Like, it doesn't really look like it has anything to merit. And you can kind of see why it faltered away with time, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. If anyone's seen the movie, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'm the one that's crazy, but yeah, I just don't see it. So that's my thoughts on Sign of Life. Not the best acclaim for it, but it is what I think it is. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is The Rachel Papers.
Charles Highway is a 19-year-old with an obsession. How to have the perfect love affair before he's 20.
It's not that. I mean, I really like you. Taurus. I don't think I know you well enough. Gemini.
He's the perfect pickup artist. He knows everything there is to know about seduction.
I don't know what you're complaining about.
Except how to get the girl he wants. The Rachel Papers.
Naturally.
Because even when you're 19, there's still a lot to learn.
Who's ever got time to act naturally with a girl?
Rachel is a very different kind of girl. The kind that always looks so unobtainable.
Maybe later we can meet for a drink.
Look, Charles, I'd like to. It's just that things are a bit difficult for me at the moment.
The kind that's always someone else's.
You done it yet?
I'm late from work right now and I can't come. Why?
You have been out with her.
But that doesn't stop him trying.
Did you make your move yet? Oh, we can't just go Charlie in. It's all about timing. Oh, well, excuse me. What are you waiting for, a telegram?
Like when to take advice from others.
Norman's Law. Big flash.
Like when to say how you feel.
Act like you couldn't give a fuck, she'll be begging for it.
But the hardest part is showing that you care enough to win her heart. Forever. The Rachel Papers.
And yes, that is the same Dexter Fletcher who would later go on to direct Bohemian Rhapsody and then later Rocketman. Well, okay, technically he was the second director for Bohemian Rhapsody, but Bryan Singer took the credit on that one. But he did direct Rocketman, and yeah, I had no idea he was an actor before I knew about this movie's existence. But I don't know, it looks like it could be pretty good. I mean, he looks like he's doing a pretty good job as the lead in this movie. You also have Ione Skye, Jonathan Pryce, James Spader, Michael Gambon in this. I don't know. It could be worth a watch. I mean, it does look more interesting than I think a lot of people would have given it credit for. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. The next movie is Tom Waits in Cold Feet.
Kenny is a war.
sensitive, caring, homicidal maniac.
You ever think about eternity, Kenny?
Only for my victims. So when Monty stole the horse, with all the jewels,
Monty must die!
Keep your voice down, Kenny.
Calming me down!
Kenny and Maureen
Get the car, Maureen!
went after him with a vengeance.
I would like us to sew money up with the dead horse. Kick him in the red floor.
That's my gal.
Please! I want to see hands! Kenny is very angry!
Tom Waits is Kenny.
I'm a man!
You're the first person from Delaware I've ever met. The killer only a mother could love.
Dear Mommy, I have been promoted to Chief Executive Branch Manager.
Give it to me! I'll shoot you like a rabbit!
Keith Carradine is Monty.
He's kind of a crook, I'm afraid.
The charming but dishonest cowboy.
Oh, this is love, isn't it, honey? This is the real thing.
Oh, it sure is. God, that's off. And Sally Kirkland is Maureen.
Ooh, my skin feels so alive.
The shy but love-crazed romantic.
Maureen, don't make me have sex. It just doesn't seem like the time.
It is for me.
Whatever happened to the rights of the individual in this country?
In a comic fable about greed, lust, and high-fashion footwear. Cold feet.
Boy, Tom Waits looks like he's having the time of his life with this movie. And it makes me kind of want to see it. Like, I'm not even kidding. I really want to see this just for Tom Waits in this movie. I mean, he looks like he's having the time of his life. Like, he was just looking at the script and said, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want with this and just go all out. And like I said, he looks like he's having a ton of fun. It makes me really want to see this movie. And very good cast. Keith Carradine, Sally Kirkland, Bill Pullman, Rip Torn, Jeff Bridges. It's a pretty good cast, and like I said, it looks like a ton of fun solely because of what Tom Waits is bringing to this performance that he's playing here. Yeah, it's another movie I might actually get around to checking out one day. If I ever find it at a good price, I can definitely check it out and see if it's any good. I definitely want to see it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and the next movie is Blood Red.
We came here to America with nothing but a strength in our hands, in our backs.
They left behind one way of life and embraced another.
Nothing better. Only that we could own this land.
But the dream was a lie.
To the railroad.
The promise, false.
But my land is not for sale.
From the director of the Academy Award-winning A Trip to Bountiful comes the story of a proud, passionate, defiant Sicilian family.
How many of you will stay and fight?
Eric Roberts, Giancarlo Giannini, Dennis Hopper, Burt Young, Susan Anspach.
This is not Sicily, but there is still honor.
Yeah, it's almost never a good sign if a movie has been sitting on a shelf for 3 years and then it finally gets released. No joke. This was filmed in 1986, completed in 1986, but didn't hit theaters until 89, and maybe that's probably why nobody's ever heard of it, and it's probably not that good of a movie, despite a pretty solid cast. Eric Roberts, Giancarlo Giannini, Dennis Hopper, Burt Young, Michael Madsen, but yeah, like I said, anytime a movie has been sitting on a shelf for a long period of time and then they just release it now, there's a good chance that it's not a very good movie. So yeah, maybe not something I won't check out anytime soon. But let's go ahead and move on to the last movie for this particular episode, A Chorus of Disapproval.
Guy Jones is new in town.
My name's Guy Jones. I was calling about your advertisement.
Read it through the nose. He's about to audition for the ladies of the cast.
Oh, I like the name Guy.
No need to hyperventilate.
Masculine. Manly.
Vestron.
No idea what a pleasure it is to see a new man in the society. It's mostly filled with those boring women.
We think you're lovely.
Another singer we put well to the back, preferably in the car park.
Which way shall I turn me? How can I decide?
Guy's about to discover that he's a better performer than he ever realized.
One wife is too much for most husbands to hear, but two at a time there's no more to compare.
A month ago, I wouldn't have considered asking you, but you're growing in confidence every day.
Now his sex life is like his acting career. There's drama, intrigue, and scandal every night.
There's a little favor I wanted to ask you.
Could you do it?
Do it? You'll love it.
I think it's got to stop.
From the award-winning play by Alan Ayckbourn comes a tale of the people who give their all for their art. Jeremy Irons, Anthony Hopkins, Prunella Scales, Jenny Seagrove, Richard Bryars and Patsy Kensit, starring a chorus of disapproval.
Bang goes another reason for living.
If I was to tell you that the same man that directed the Death Wish movies made this movie, would you believe me? Yeah, I probably wouldn't believe me either. I mean, Michael Winner, he was kind of on a bad streak during this time, with the last couple of movies he made. Have you ever seen the movie Parting Shots? I mean, that's a movie that just... You really couldn't tell that that's the movie that movie is directed by the same man that did Death Wish. I mean, that's just... And not in a good way, because Death Wish is a great movie, and Parting Shots is not very good. And despite the fact that they have Jeremy Irons and Anthony Hopkins in this, this does not look too promising. I mean, there are times in here where I did chuckle at the trailer a little bit, but I don't know. Other than that, though, I don't hear a lot of good things about this one. I hear it's mostly kind of bad, but yeah, it's not something I really need to go out and see at some point, so... that's my quick thoughts on A Course of Disapproval. Who knows? Maybe I might be wrong on this. Again, let me know in the comments. What do you think? What do you think? I'm not giving this movie a fair chance, or what? But